Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, this is Josh, and welcome to the exciting conclusion. DdoRo, send your workers. What are you doing? Anyway, Root DdoRo is the purple Protoss here on the bottom spawn of Metalopolis. He is at close flying positions against his opponent, LG Zelniq. And DdoRo saying, my PVZ is so expletive deleted up. And that is just a very strange thing to say after he totally crushed Zelniq in Game 2. Like I said, this is Game 3 in a best-of-3 series for the Root Gaming Success Pays Invitational. Whoever wins each round actually gets a small amount of money, rather than the traditional tournament structure where only first place gets a ton of money and perhaps second, third, and fourth get a little bit of change as well. But in this tournament, the pay structure is set up so that no matter what round you win, you do get to keep a little bit of dough. So I like the way that tournament was structured. That's why I'm casting these replays. Of course, there are a ton of great players in the tournament as well, so I'm going to be bringing you lots and lots of replays and casts from that tournament, which actually took place about a month ago, but you're watching them, like I am, for the first time because they weren't cast live. A lot of these games weren't cast live, aside from the semis and the finals and things like that, and this is just a lowly round one game between LG Zelniq and Root DdoRo. Close flying positions, PVZ. Might we see a Warp Prism, Phoenixes, or a Void Ray? I would certainly hope so, since that seems to be quite a powerful build for these positions on Metalopolis. He could actually get a lot of Phoenixes. They're very, very punishing to the Zerg player. Zelniq, with his natural farther away from his opponent's main, means that queens are not going to be quite as effective, because if he leaves his queen, or if he abandons his natural hatchery with a queen to come over here and fight off Phoenixes all the time, then a tier 1 army of just Stalkers and Zealots would be able to destroy this mineral line. So it's very, very difficult to be able to deal with all that stuff going on if your opponent's getting a lot of Phoenixes and not leaving you alone. Zelniq is doing the same build, so it looks like he has played quite enough ZVPs in his day to realize what strategy he likes to go with, and it appears to be spawning pool, then extractor, then shortly after that he likes to get his natural hatchery up. He doesn't really seem to like to mix it up a lot. He just gets his Zergling speed into a Roach Warren, gets that second hatchery, and then eventually a lair, then kind of decides to go where to go from there based on what he's seen out of his opponent. And of course he's not seeing anything crazy yet, as the Cybernetics core is not complete, and I've said it time and time again, you can't really do much as Protoss until your Cybernetics core is done. Proxy gateways used to be crazy powerful back when Chrono Boost was unnerfed, back when Zealot build times and gateway build times were like they were in the beta, very, very short. You could do 2 proxy gates and win a game before your opponent even had a roach out, and it was very, very difficult to try and deal with. But the game has changed, and as such, the Cybernetics core is the linchpin of all Protoss strategies. And now that his Cybernetics core is done, he is throwing up his second assimilator, so we've seen 2 very, very different strategies out of DdoRo so far, and he did say at the beginning of this game that his PVZ is kind of messed up, so not sure what he's going to be planning here. I would, like I said, love to see some Phoenixes, so he could get a Stargate up next. Zelniq did drop his hatchery right on time there. He's got Zergling speed started, pulled all of his drones back off of gas onto minerals, and he's just going to be droning up, dropping creep tumors, building overlords, doing everything right on time. Actually, yeah, his hatchery's not done yet. I actually thought he was getting a third hatchery already. Incorrect, Josh. But gateways number 2 and 3 coming up for DdoRo. That is actually sort of what helped him win in that second game on Lost Temple, so perhaps not a bad idea. He can continue to make a sort of hook all the way down to his natural if he chooses to expand, or he could go for a one-base play, try and crush Zelniq. I'm not sure if these players were able to watch the replays between the games, but if DdoRo did, he probably knows that Zelniq is a droning monster, and early game actually seems to be where his weakest point would be, where he's got just a ton of drones. He likes to build 1 spine crawler outside of his natural, hasn't even done that yet. So if DdoRo actually goes for a strong 4-gate, I don't think Zelniq will actually have the roaches available to be able to defend that. But instead, DdoRo is looking towards the mid-game, already expanding before even getting a 4th gate or a robotics facility up at all. Roach Warren coming up now for Zelniq, going back to that strategy we've seen in the first 2 games. Like clockwork, right there at the 6-minute mark, pretty much, essentially. And nothing too crazy coming next. So next thing we should expect to see out of Zelniq is a lair. After that, maybe a Hydralisk Den. The first game he didn't even need the Hydralisk Den. The second game he did get one up and tried to get a Spire as well, but he was basically already out of the game before any Mutalisks could make a difference. And DdoRo did have lots and lots of Stalkers and Sentries in that second game as well, so it wouldn't have made too much of a difference there. And I actually liked DdoRo's decision to not get any Colossi in that second game. The Immortal was exactly the unit he needed to complement the Stalkers and Sentries that he already had and destroy all the roaches that Zelniq had. Extractor number 2 coming up, 3 coming up as well. No 4 though. Lair is started morphing now, and after that, Hydralisk Den would be my guess once again. Oh, Mengsk and Wolf statue going down there to some Zerglings. Zelniq being a little aggressive here towards the statues. Mengsk can't enjoy that. I like how when you destroy the statue, actually, the only thing that disappears is Mengsk. The dogs are still there. So it's like the Zerglings ran up the steps, saw Mengsk, and attacked only him until he collapsed, but his dogs are in exactly the same position they were. Just little things, and that's, like I said, I learned things about this game all the time. I did not know that if you killed the Mengsk statue with the wolves, they would actually still have the wolves there. But DdoRo, yeah, he's doing kind of the same thing he did on Lost Temple, but now that Zelniq's seen it, he's taking a third base up at his plausible third location here, farther away from DdoRo. Safer, if you ask me. Lair's done now. He's getting all the appropriate Roach upgrades. Roach Speed and Burrow coming up first. Most likely going to see Tunneling Claws once again. He does seem to be a fan of that in this matchup. And the first game, it didn't really make too much of a difference because he just had the numbers at advantage. And the second game, it didn't really make too much of a difference because he totally was at a numbers disadvantage. But you never know when those Tunneling Claws can come in handy. He doesn't have them started just yet, and now DdoRo is actually on the move, killing off a free Roach there. He does not have any observers in the sky, also does not have a robotics facility up, so if Zelniq does get Tunneling Claws or just works that Burrow, DdoRo actually could be in trouble despite having what appears to be a very good unit composition. Another Mengsk statue goes down. That's 2 in one game, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely incredible. But Zelniq has the supply count advantage. He should have the worker advantage as well. Yes, 49 to 40. So DdoRo really needs to stay home, I think, for now, and try and get some more production facilities. There we see gateways 4 and 5 and a single robotics facility instead of going for the double robo like we saw last game. He's changing it up just a slight amount. Zelniq getting farther ahead on harvester count. These Roach upgrades are about to finish. Burrow is done. Roach Speed is now done. +1 missile attacks already started. 8 drones, 9 drones coming at a time, and Tunneling Claws have begun researching. Meanwhile, we see a Twilight Council coming for DdoRo, so perhaps Blink will come along to accompany whatever comes out of this robotics facility. I would guess a single observer, maybe 2 observers, and then constant Immortal production from there. But who can really know for sure? DdoRo kind of wants to take this third base. I think he should actually do that, like right now. He does have 400 minerals, and there it goes. So he is trying to keep up with Zelniq at least. He may have wanted to even take the gold base, because now he is pretty far behind on just raw harvesters. 67 to 50. That's 17 more harvesters. So that's like having an entire extra base over your opponent. Let's look at the actual income difference. We'll see Zelniq is getting about, let's see, 50% more. 40 or 50% more minerals there. Gas is pretty close still, but that is a large discrepancy still. Groove Spine's being researched now, so that means a Hydralisk Den was completed somewhere. There it is, right next to that Roach Warren. Everything just pumping away, getting upgrades here. I like the way Zelniq upgrades his units. DdoRo does have Blink coming along. He does have an Observer about to finish. That third base is about halfway done, and he's continuing to make some probes. Now that he has an Immortal and an Observer, where is your Observer? You need that. You need that observer. I don't see it overhead here. Sometimes the observers can be kind of hard to spot. It looks like I did manage to get a wolf statue, and then there's the observer just now coming in from the main. He needs that during this next encounter because these roaches are fast. They can burrow. They can tunnel. Zelniq is sending a single Hydralisk out on his own. Too bad DdoRo wasn't there. He would have just completely mauled it and made Zelniq look silly. But +1 weapons about to finish for DdoRo as well. Looks like he is going to wait around a little bit for that to be closer to finishing before moving out. But now warping in some more Stalkers. I think I like Zelniq's chances of holding this with the huge number of Roaches and Hydralisks that he actually has here. No Mutalisks or anything like that yet, although he's expanding, taking a 4th base now as well. Force fields go down, Roaches burrowing underneath. I told you, you never know when that burrow is going to come in handy, and right there, he basically cut the duration of those force fields in half by burrowing underneath them and scooting forward, and DdoRo with a unit disadvantage is forced to back up here or risk losing his entire army. There is an overseer over here as well, so an observer could be sniped if Zelniq gets up there close enough. Also, did you notice Zelniq focus fired all of those sentries, so now force fields are not even going to be a problem anymore. Roach is burrowing now, getting back up to full health incredibly quickly. Life just regenerates so quickly when they're burrowed. That's basically the entire intent of the Roach, not just being an armored destruction machine like we saw when there were only one supply, but you know, being able to burrow and regenerate life is their little quirk that they have. And now Guardian Shield goes up. It is going to protect a handful of these units. DdoRo does have Blink finish, but look at just the army sizes here. It looks like these Immortals will have to do their majority of their damage here before having to back up, but now Zelniq contaminating the Forge. Nothing was researching in there, but that's okay. And yeah, Hydralisk just moving right in here. DdoRo sitting at 2-0 upgrades. Zelniq sitting at 1-0. He's got the unit advantage. Nothing but Hydralisk here, clearing out all the rest of the Stalkers. DdoRo says GG, and Zelniq will win a small amount of money. I believe it was $50 for the first round of the Success Pays Invitational, and he'll move into round 2. DdoRo gave it a good try. We saw a great game out of him on Lost Temple. Fortunately, he couldn't quite pull it together here on Metalopolis, so that's going to be it for this best of 3, and I'll be casting more best of 3s and eventually the semifinals and finals from this tournament as well, so stick around to see lots and lots of variety from the Root Gaming Success Pays Invitational. You can see more from that at root-gaming.com.